Hello, entrepreneurs, and welcome to the Possibility Partner Show. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, your Chief Possibility Officer, and I have the privilege of being a CEO buddy to entrepreneurs everywhere, and I help specifically startups and early-stage entrepreneurs launch, brand, and build their businesses. And every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, you'll find me right here on Google+, sharing Andelicious advice for entrepreneurial adventurers. And this is meaningful, wonderful conversations with experienced entrepreneurs sharing their stories, their wisdom, their advice to help us with our entrepreneurial journeys. And they don't just share the woohoo and this happened and isn't life wonderful stories. Oh no. I mean, those are fun and they keep us motivated, right, and inspired, but they're sharing their rut-rows as well. Those things and opportunities that we like to cushion them in, opportunities that happen that really require a lot of tenacity, resilience, and courage. And I'm here, my guests are here, we're all here to hold each other's hands and participate in this journey because it isn't easy. There are days when you sit there and go, why bother? Why am I doing this? So Possibility Partner Show is here to remind you why you're in this journey and how can we make it easier and fun and laugh along the way. And today I have a phenomenal guest here to share his dose of entrepreneurial wisdom, the social media, Hootsuite, blogging expert that I love and adore, Mr. Mike Allton. Hey, Mike, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Really excited to be here. This is going to be a fun time. I got to tell you that.
Well, I'm so thrilled that you joined me today. I go to you all the time, Mike, for any information that I need, whether it's Twitter, my favorite social media platform, or any of the other platforms. And also, you bring a voice of reason and logic and understanding and just a delicious way of explaining things so that I don't have to search hard and long and far and wide for the answers I need. So I'm thrilled that you're here and the socialmediahat.com is here for all of us. But let's begin with your journey, because entrepreneurs, sometimes we just happen, we evolve, things push us into our adventure, and sometimes we just come out of the womb ready to make a dime and work the crowd. So what inspired you to be an entrepreneur, Mike?
That's a really interesting question because I wasn't inspired. I wasn't born being an entrepreneur. I never thought that I would be. It definitely was an evolution. I went to college and got a job out of college working in IT, and that's what I assumed my career would be, working in computers and support and that sort of thing. And we're talking back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I was the sales manager for a local IT company back in Ohio and got really burned out helping people with their computers. And that may sound trite, but there were so many people who would come in day after day after day, the same people with their same computer, the same problems, riddled with porn or whatever the case might be. We'd help them, we'd clean up their computer, and they'd bring it back the next day, and that got really old. So I actually took a break from computers, from everything that I knew, and I went and sold hot tubs and swimming pools for 2 years. I worked for a chain in Ohio called Lighthouse. I sold fun. I sold family entertainment. I sold the outdoor barbecue and the experience of having that space, that outdoor living space, and that was a really eye-opening, refreshing experience for me. I got out of the IT world. There was no social media. There was no computers. None of that stuff back then, and learned a lot actually about sales and marketing from this company that was all about sales and marketing. We did weekly seminars on how to approach people and how to make the sale and how to talk about a product. I could tell you the thickness of the metal of our pool walls if you wanted to, but that wasn't the message that I wanted to convey. As a salesman, I want to talk about the experience of owning your own swimming pool and having that outlet of family fun and so on. So I did that for a couple years. But that got old too for me because that really wasn't going anywhere. It was just a change of pace for me. And so this was 2000. 2006. I stopped doing that. I quit that job and actually did not have anything else lined up.
Oh my gosh, a true entrepreneurial adventure.
Yeah, so I started looking for other things to do and ended up kind of stumbling into business development and started my own business, essentially. It just kind of happened that way, developing other people's businesses.
Well, explain business development, because some folks will think that's creating new business for others. Some people might think that's raising money. What was business development for you?
Yeah, it was really the former, creating new business for other people. So I was essentially cold calling or going through lists or following up on leads and that sort of thing. Initially, it was for an alarm company, and then expanded to some other companies because I kind of enjoyed it a little bit. Certainly developed some skills there. So I added some other clients and created a little business for myself doing that. And then that kind of petered out. I went and did some websites for a while, made lots of mistakes there, which I don't even want to talk about. And eventually, what I discovered in myself is that I really like to write, and I really like to teach. And so that's why I started the social media hat, was because I kind of merged those two passions. I like social media. I have fun. I like learning and trying out new things and new techniques and new platforms and so on, and I really enjoy writing about it. So I launched the social media hat 2.5 years ago.
Oh my gosh, just 2.5 years ago?
Yeah, just 2.5 years ago, as a blog and learning platform.
Oh my gosh. See, and again, here's a wonderful example, viewers, of the entrepreneurial journey. Look at the different skill sets that Mike learned along the way, from working on folks' computers to the entertainment industry via hot tubs and pools, and then business development. I mean, that's a really hard thing to do, but he got the training through the sales seminars from that prior job. And so he got into the how to do the cold calling and getting the leads. But the whole time, the layers were being peeled back, and he was able, through the experience, to find a core genius about himself, which is he's a wonderful writer and he's a wonderful teacher. Wow, Mike. So now, what happened next? I mean, I guess what I want to know is, as the entrepreneur, as you went through these peaks and valleys and experiences, what was it that really resonated with you about the experience, and what piece of advice could you share with us that helps keep you going every single day as an entrepreneur?
Sure. One of the issues I guess I had, or challenges, in some of the early endeavors and early ways of forming the business, was revenue. I wasn't making enough money, and at the time, my business model was project-based. In other words, I would spend a lot of time tracking people down, trying to make that sale for a one-time project. And when that project was finished, the relationship was finished, there was nothing else for me to do for that individual, and I'd have to move on to the next sale. And so there was no predictability to my income and revenue, which is a problem. We've got to maintain, we got to put bread on the table and so on. And there was no, more importantly, I think, really, there was no satisfaction there. I was doing things for people and then losing touch. And I don't even know half the time if they used what I taught them or what I built for them or whatever the case might be. And so I've really tried hard over the past 18 months or so to pivot and to focus more on building relationships with clients, coming up with services that I can do for them that aren't going to be just, we're going to do this project and be done. More long-term kinds of things.
And I think that's what many of us struggle with, Mike, of course, is monetizing our work in a way that allows us the opportunity to provide for our families and eat. That's key. But also online. I mean, so often, I'm sure, and I know from my own personal experience, we can feel badly about ourselves if we're not nailing it, if we're not monetizing, if we're not figuring it out. And the way someone else does it does not necessarily mean it's going to work for you, right?
Oh, yes. That's a huge lesson right there. Yeah, we can get inspired by other people. We can take lessons from other people, but don't assume that you should be able to do exactly what anybody else does.
Right. And I'm so grateful that you uncovered a way to make it work for you, because I can't imagine a day going by and not being able to engage with Mike Allton. Just saying. So, Folks, is this man not wonderful? If you're not following Mike Allton, you must connect with him here on Google Plus, everywhere, and go to thesocialmediahat.com because it really is an abundance of resources. And we're going to talk next about how to engage and how to streamline our social media. But first, I want to remind all of you live viewers, come on to the Afterglow party after I hit end broadcast. We'd love to see you. I'm going to grab the link to the room here, throw it into the comments section. Click on it. Come on in. You don't have to even turn on the video if you don't want. We would just love to hear your voice and share some delicious conversation that is unrecorded. Ta-da! And thank you to all you live viewers. I see you out there. Thank you for showing up. I see you in the comment tracks. And we'll get to your questions, okay, Nikki and others? Thank you so much. So, Mike, you know that I'm all about social media. I love it. But I also love for my entrepreneurs to get in there, engage, and get out. So where do we begin to start streamlining our social media, and how can we, I guess other than setting the timer or having the hook that pulls us off the social media stage, how can we get better at streamlining our social media as business owners so that we don't get caught up in being business doers?
Yeah, that is a huge, huge topic that unfortunately we will not have time to cover in its entirety here. So definitely, if you've got more questions that I don't get to, hop into the Afterglow, and please don't hesitate to throw a question into the comments. If I don't get to it in the broadcast or in the Afterglow, I will come back later this afternoon and answer every question. So that said, the first thing that I often advise clients is to take the time to plan and strategize before you just jump in. Social media, from a business perspective, isn't something you want to just jump into. You will risk wasting a lot of your time if you do that. So think very carefully about which platforms are best for your business, where your audience is. And one point that a lot of people don't even think about for some reason, but which networks do you like? You know, if I'm talking to a business owner and she hates Twitter, I'm not going to tell her to spend time on Twitter. There's other networks out there. There's an infographic that I update every single month. It's my monthly active users by social network infographic. Basically, it just tells you how many people are using Facebook and YouTube and Google Plus and Twitter and Vine and Instagram and Pinterest and LinkedIn. And it's fun. It's neat to see that, you know, Facebook's got 1.39 billion people every single month using it. But the point of the infographic from me was to tell you, the business owner, look at Vine. Vine only has 40 million people on there in comparison. But I say only as if what business owner watching right now wouldn't be thrilled with 40 million clients? We'd all be happy with that many customers, right? So the point of the infographic is to say even Vine should have plenty of opportunities for you as a business owner. So think about that. Think about your audience and your demographic, but think about the platform itself. Do you like to talk? Do you want to share content? Do you like to create videos? Do you like to create images? Would you prefer to write? Do you want to get into in-depth conversations, or do you like keeping it at a very high level? What are your preferences? What makes sense for you and your business? Those are the kinds of things I want you thinking about as an entrepreneur, because that's going to dictate then what you do next, which is to create a profile on all of those social networks, all of them. I did say that, all of them.
Hold on, can I interrupt? Thank you,
yeah.
Mike. Just that even if you're not playing on those, you need to have a consistent brand across all of them. Right, Andrea Beltrami?
Yeah, that's right. Have that consistent brand. Grab your URL. You don't want somebody reserving your name on a rival social network. But then you prioritize. I put them into tiers. So my top tier social network or networks, there might be one or two. That's where you spend the most time. You've got that profile on all of them. I've got a profile on YouTube, but I'm not a video guy. I don't create my own videos. So you're not going to see me active on YouTube. You're not going to see me active on Vine. You will find me on Google Plus. You will find me on Twitter. Those are my top tier social networks. So that's a big part of streamlining your social media activity, is coming up with what makes sense, what fits your business, and then focusing on just a couple of social networks at a time.
Right. And of course, you talk a lot about, and you have your wonderful book, which I just love and adore, the unofficial book guide to Hootsuite. And I think I've been on Hootsuite now Oh, over 3 years, Mike. I got on that dashboard and it just made sense. It just put everything in a way that I could manage Twitter. But that's my favorite platform.
Yep.
And I know that I can use Hootsuite for many other platforms. So share with us, first of all, what made you decide to go with Hootsuite as a social media management tool versus, I don't know, TweetDeck or some of the others that are out there?
Yeah, that's a good question because there are a lot out there. And I'll be the first to tell somebody Hootsuite might not be the best tool for them. I don't work for Hootsuite. I talk about it a lot. It's my personal favorite, just like Google Plus is my personal favorite network. It's not a one-size-fits-all business. So if you find that Hootsuite doesn't do what you need it to do, and there's another platform that does or another tool that does, that's great. And I'll also be the first to say Hootsuite isn't the only tool that I use because it doesn't do everything. I use Buffer, I use Social Oomph, and there's some other tools that I use. But for the majority of what I want to do, Hootsuite does it. Hootsuite does allow me to schedule posts, but more importantly, it allows me to monitor. It really helps my Twitter presence because I'm maintaining 2 Twitter handles, one for me, one for the business. So I actually don't ever use the Twitter app on my phone. I use the Hootsuite app exclusively for
right.
Twitter.
And do you recommend that? I mean, that's what I did personally. I have @Ande Lyons and then my business names. Do you recommend that business owners do that, Mike?
Absolutely, and it goes back to what we were saying before. Even if you find that profile, just like that platform, if you find that profile may or may not be your focus as a business, you still want to have that name reserved.
Yeah.
So my social media hats, @socialmediahats Twitter handle, if you go there, I'll be honest, it's just broadcasting. I don't do a lot of engaging on that handle. I do most of my engaging and conversation on my @Mike Allton because it makes more sense for me as a business. I'm a solopreneur. I don't have a whole team here behind me. But if you're a larger business, you end up flipping that around a little bit usually, and you want to represent the brand, the company brand more on a platform rather than an individual like a CEO or a marketer or whoever.
So what's the best way to use this? Because what Mike's talking about here is in a very clear, defined, simple, categorized way, you can track your tribe, your audience, your like-minded people. You can find them in a very organized way using lists, hopping on tweet chats, etc. So Mike, talk about this. Talk about why we would want to set those kind of streams up on a Hootsuite platform.
Yeah, and that's again to Hootsuite's strength is being able to decide in advance. These are the things we want to monitor and track and so on, and then have that set up as a system so that we don't have to think about it all the time. That's why I started writing about Hootsuite. That's why I ended up taking some of what I wrote and then writing a whole bunch more and putting into a book, is because I don't want to think about the technology. I just want to do my business. And I don't want my clients trying to think about, okay, how do I auto schedule? Where do I go to the publisher? How do I create a new stream? I want that kind of information to be so secondhand as like riding a bike. You don't think about pushing the pedals when you're riding a bike. You just hop on the bike and you go, and you have fun, and you think about the journey, and you're looking at what's around you, and you're feeling the wind in your face and so on. You're not worrying about how much air pressure is in your tires.
I love that analogy. But let's give us some examples, Mike, because if your category, your industry is moms, or your category or your industry is leadership. I mean, how are ways that we can track the conversation, curate the kind of content that we want to curate and share, and also meet the folks and begin building those relationships one conversation or one tweet at a time?
Yeah, and I'm glad you put it that way, because those are 3 very distinct and important and crucial goals that you can have as a business through social media. You can be paying attention to the conversations that are taking place both around your brand and around the topics that your brand is interested in. And Hootsuite allows you to do that by saving a search as a stream inside the dashboard. So you say, I want to monitor these hashtags, or I want to monitor this phrase, or I want to monitor this brand, or whatever it is that you want to keep an eye on. You save that as a saved stream so that when you log in your dashboard, you'll see all that activity right there in your Hootsuite dashboard. By the same token, you can be paying attention to who is talking about those specific topics. You might find that there's a blogger out there who's blogging about your industry, and it might make great sense for you as a business to reach out to that blogger and have that relationship with them. Maybe they'll blog about you, or maybe they're providing content that you could then share with your audience because that would be of interest. So you can find them with that stream, and then within Hootsuite, you click on their profile, and you get to see a nice bio about them, their Twitter bio, and you can follow them with any of your Twitter handles right there within the Hootsuite dashboard.
Right, and why Twitter? I mean, can you track anybody on Google Plus or LinkedIn or Facebook in the same way, or is it just the tweet conversations?
Yeah, this is definitely one of the limitations of Hootsuite and virtually every platform, in that they're going to be stronger for some networks than others. So when it comes to Hootsuite and looking at individuals, you're pretty much going to see their Twitter information, and you're going to be able to follow them on Twitter. You can follow streams in Google Plus, for instance, which a lot of people don't realize. You can set up a saved stream either by a search or by circles. So you can put people in circles with your Google Plus profile and then have that as a saved stream within Hootsuite, so you can see what's going on within that circle or around that hashtag.
Yep, I get that. Now, Nikki Pesquera has two questions, one which I was going to ask too, Nikki, which is, if I want an image to be seen in my Twitter feed, I actually have to go to Twitter and upload the image that way versus scheduling it on Hootsuite, because Hootsuite seems to just use the link. Are there any changes in that?
Yeah, what you want to do, and I'll get a little more technical here for just a second, for Nikki and anybody else who's listening, you can share an image using Hootsuite to any social network. Okay, when you're doing a compose, you open a compose window, you type in your message, or you're sharing a link, and that pre-fills the compose button, whatever it is. Take an image off of your desktop and drag it into that compose field, and you'll see a little box appear before you let go with your mouse, and you can drop the image in the extra box, and that will show up as a new shortened link in the compose field. Okay, so that's when you know you're about to share an image, and you can schedule that. Here's the trick. Before you do that, go back into your Hootsuite settings, go to your Twitter profile. So go into the settings for your Twitter profile or profiles if you've got more than one, and there's a little drop-down box there that says how you're going to share an image, and you need to change that from the Hootsuite's default hourly link to pic.twitter.com. So sorry for the technical detail.
No, are you kidding? This is me right now. Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yes, everybody
hey,
listening.
Nikki, are we high-fiving and fist bumping?
Yeah, there's no reason not to make this change. So if you're listening right now, just go do it. Just log into your Hootsuite dashboard, go to your Twitter profile, go to the settings, change the image sharing from hourly down to pic.twitter.com. And what that does, for Twitter alone, for all the other platforms it should work no matter what, but for Twitter, it will share the image the way Twitter wants you to share the image, so it'll actually appear in the stream.
Right. And what I love are these little tricks to the trade that I've learned from you and other folks, which are I think it's Friends and Me on Google Plus, so whatever I post on Google Plus will show up in my Twitter feed, which I just love, and anything I put on Pinterest, even my Andelicious autos. If you're not following that board and you happen to like automobiles, you want to follow that board. Anyway, and my Andelicious getaways, just saying. It goes, and I love seeing those images in my Twitter feed. But I love Hootsuite, and I understand that we can do bulk, right? We can do bulk scheduled posts, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to kind of segue from Nikki's question to this one, you can't unfortunately bulk schedule images because it's to bulk schedule you upload a spreadsheet or a CSV file of whatever tweets, and frankly this is one of the things that I still think is very clunky when it comes to Hootsuite. So I don't do it. I use Buffer and Social Oomph for my pre-scheduled in bulk. Basically, I've got 400 evergreen articles in my archive, things that weren't necessarily news related, and I want those going out all the time on a routine schedule, and just Hootsuite wasn't compatible with that particular business need.
That's great advice.
You have bulk scheduling, who want to schedule a bunch of stuff at once. If you don't have images, it's very easy with the bulk schedule. There's a blog post you can look that up on my site, or I can share the link after the call that actually has some resources for you to make that even easier than just building your own spreadsheet from scratch. You
Now,
can't add images those two real quick
yeah.
after you've scheduled them. So you could go back into your calendar of scheduled tweets, edit a tweet, and drag an image into it if you needed to.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, as far as I love to share other people's work, as you all know, it's one of my favorite things to do, put the spotlight on you and your wonderful work, but I love to go to the website, folks' website, to the actual post and use the social share buttons there. Are there any elves in the Google SEO world, all algorithms going like that when you share from somebody's site versus retweeting or sharing what they've posted on Google Plus or LinkedIn?
I want to say no, and I want to say that depending on the widget that they're using on their website, because we're talking about the social sharing buttons that might appear above or below somebody's blog post. There's not a one size fits all for those. It could be anything. You could be using Shareaholic or something else. Depending on the widget, it might not matter whether you pushed the button on their website or shared it from, say, Hootsuite's RSS feed. Because one of my favorite things to do with Hootsuite is to use one of the apps called the Hootsuite Syndicator or the RSS Syndicator. So I know that there are a dozen blogs that I want to know every single time they publish something new. I follow them religiously, like Mark Schaefer and Copyblogger and so on, because these are pillars in my industry, and I want to keep up with what they're talking about. So I have their RSS feeds plugged into this Hootsuite app. Now this isn't automatic sharing. Okay, I'm not automatically tweeting out everything that they say. It comes up as a stream inside Hootsuite, so I can see the latest from Jeff Bullis and Mark Schaefer and Heidi Cohen, and I can say, oh yeah, that article right there, my audience would love that, and then I can share it from Hootsuite then to all of my social profiles. Now, I tell you that because if they're using, say, Shareaholic as a share widget on their particular site, once my share to Twitter goes out, within a certain amount of time, that should register as a tweet on their website.
Yay! I love that. Okay, so let me bring in a few questions here. We have Nikki here saying, how did you first get noticed by social media influencers, Mike? What a great question, Nikki.
That is a great question, Nick, and I can't tell you how timely that is. I'm having conversations about that right now with one of my biggest clients, SiteSale. I'm actually their chief marketing officer, and we're talking about that very topic. And it's one of the things where I really advocate a very organic, a very natural approach. I don't want somebody feeling like I'm stalking them on social media or any place.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah. And,
I'm a stalker.
If you read about influencer marketing, because that's what we're talking about, if you read about influencer marketing, you can take it too far. You can follow somebody on all their social profiles. You can plus one all their posts. You can like all their posts. You can retweet all their posts. You can comment on all their blog posts, and it starts to feel like stalking at that point. So instead, what I try to do is focus on more of a personal learning perspective. Who can I follow on Google Plus, for instance, who I'm going to learn from, and I'm really going to appreciate what it is that they're saying. And that may have nothing to do with their follower count, but it has everything to do with what they're talking about and how it impacts me. And if they're talking about things that are interesting and moving or whatever the case might be to me, my reaction to that content or to that post is going to be natural. If Stefan Hovnanian shares another blog post about email marketing, I'm going to love it, and I'm going to tell him I love it, and it's going to be real. It's going to be genuine because I'm learning from Stefan every single time he opens his mouth. And the same with Peg and Rebecca and Jeff C. and all these other people that are my peers. So that's one of my huge, big pieces of advice to my clients when it comes to Google Plus specifically is be very careful about the people that you circle. Look for people in your business, in your industry, who are talking about things that are of interest to you and relevant to your business and industry so that every time you open Google Plus, it's a learning experience.
And that goes for all the platforms, folks.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not a numbers game. I'm a huge believer in that. It's really where are they in their world, in their sphere, in their industry? They might have nobody following them on Google Plus, but they might be huge on Twitter or Facebook, whatever. It's just that when they open their mouth, as Mike said, something of value comes out that really resonates with you. And that's who you need to be following. And those, I believe, are the real influencers. Right, Mike?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a great question here from Christine Bowen. If you choose to have a presence on a social network that you do not frequent, does that have a negative impact on your brand? How do you manage your brand reputation in this case?
Yeah, that's a great question too, Christine. I wouldn't go so far as to say it has a negative impression. I don't know that I've ever gone to some place, not as my social media hat on, but I haven't looked at a brand and seen that they're not tweeting very often and thought bad of them. Certainly again as a social media marketer, I say, oh well, they should be tweeting more often. But as a normal consumer, I don't know that I would really care to the point where I would think bad of them. So that said, that's part of the question. The other part of the question, though, is a brand, what do you do? And so as a brand, this is where the streamlining comes in and where tools like Hootsuite can really come into play. Because if you use the right tools and you have the right systems and processes in place, it is super easy to still be active on virtually every platform. Again, I've got two profiles on Twitter. There's no lack of tweets going out on my branded Twitter profile. Nobody would look at it and say, oh, he's never here. If they really paid attention, they would see that there's not a lot of conversation going on. But again, I don't think they're going to get a negative impression just by looking at that.
That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about hashtags, Mike. Because, over on Instagram, they're really like crazy about hashtags. And I get the whole search thing. I really do. And I have on Hootsuite my hashtags streams, whether it's entrepreneur, small biz, Andelicious. It's a great way for tracking the conversations. But how about in the tweet itself? And folks, I also, on Hootsuite, there's that little magnifying glass. I always click and see what's trending. Or I'll just throw a hashtag up there to see, are people using this hashtag? Are they having conversation? Who is in the stream for this hashtag? What's your advice, Mike?
Yeah, and that's great. Again, another huge topic. There's a lot that could go into this. The first place I would start is research your hashtags as part of your process of planning what you're going to do on social media, because what you think might be a great hashtag for your business and your industry might be an awful hashtag for your business and your industry, and it's not worth your time. For instance, you are going to be tweeting on a regular basis, and you might decide to hashtag all of your tweets small biz. Okay? But who's searching that hashtag? What other tweets are related to that hashtag? Do they have anything to do with you? Are you really going to get anything out of tagging your tweets with that particular hashtag? You won't know unless you look. So do that research ahead of time and check your hashtags. Make sure it's not something stupid. Make sure that the other tweets that are going on aren't spammy. Because if it's just you and 100 other spam messages, I guarantee you're not going to stand out. Nobody's going to be looking on that hashtag.
That's great advice, and I know for me, that's why I researched the hashtag small biz, the hashtag startups. I wanted to see who was in there having conversations, and the hashtag startups for me, that's where I get a lot of my angel investors following me, the crowd funding folks. It's a wonderful hashtag for my line of work. Twitter chats, they've really helped me a lot in building my online presence and meeting like-minded folks and learning more about what others are doing in the world, and also a great place to share tweets and conversations and posts and content. What are your thoughts around tweet chats?
Yeah, I tend to really enjoy tweet chats, although I don't participate as often. The ones that I seem to have liked the most are in the evenings, and I just don't have evenings free to sit on Twitter. It's just the reality. So I end up, personally, as a business, I decided, last year or so that Google Plus Hangouts were a much better fit for me. That said, I've done tweet chats, and they're really fun. They're so fast. For those of you in the audience who don't even know what we're talking about, on Twitter, because of the way the hashtags work, you can decide in advance that we're going to have a conversation around a specific, unique hashtag. Pin chat is a great one, a tweet chat based around Pinterest. And I think it's Thursday nights, maybe even. Kelly Lieberman, one of the Pinterest experts, runs it. So she runs Pin Chat. So if you do a search within Twitter on hashtag Pin Chat, you will see all the most recent tweets as part of that chat. And in that scheduled time, let's say it's 6 to 6:30 on a Thursday night, you can jump in, and now there's all dozens of people or hundreds of people participating in that conversation live. And if you're doing, like in Hootsuite, which is what I use for my tweet chats, you can just refresh your stream, and there's new chats, new tweets coming out every second, and you just reply, and you make sure you include that hashtag in your reply, and now you're part of the conversation, and you're getting noticed by everybody else who's part of that conversation. And they're like, oh, who's this Mike Allton guy? What does he know about Pinterest? Or whatever the case might be. And it can be a lot of fun. It's another way to network and meet other people.
Well, what I love about your work and the services that you provide is you really help people come to an understanding, Mike, of when it's time to hire that social media manager. Talk a little bit about that, because we always need to remember that we are business owners and we really just can't do it all. And we don't want to be, and frankly, 75% of what we're doing, we have no business doing a lot of times. But it's hard to sometimes hand out, outsource, etc. So share a little bit about how to know as a business owner when it's time to outsource social media, and why would we want to work with Social Media Hat.
Yeah, and that's a huge question. We keep hitting these huge topics, I guess, because it's going to be different for everybody. What I want clients and small business owners to think about is, where are they spending their time? Where can they invest their own time better for their business? And when can they either have somebody like me help them just to be more efficient in what they're doing, or when is it time to actually get more hands-on help? And that's a big conversation that's on an individual basis. But I'll tell you, my personal perspective is that most businesses need to be doing their own social media. I really don't hire myself out to do other people's tweets and their Facebook posts. What I try to focus on is helping you focus your time and focus your efforts so that you're as efficient as possible, and spend as little amount of time as you need to be good and to have a great presence on social media, and then get on with doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is your rest of your business.
I love that, because we can get distracted. I don't know about any of you, but every time I get on Picmonkey or Canva, forget it. And I go in with the best intentions of creating a wonderful meme, and after I've spent a couple of hours, it still looks terrible. Mike, you always have the best looking memes. How do you do it?
I don't know. I would never have said that. I love Canva because I can jump into Canva and create an image in 5 minutes. I did it for a client the other day. I'm teaching her how to use the LinkedIn publishing platform as her blog. And and I finally got her using an image with everyone, and I've gotten her over just going to Google and grabbing an image. I've gotten her using Canva, and she the other day emailed me because she had a tall image. She had a book. And she wanted to put it on LinkedIn, and that doesn't work. You need a wide image for LinkedIn. So I jumped into Canva. I created a wide format, threw the book in there, threw some text on it, and sent it to her, and she loved it. I spent 60 seconds on that image.
Oh my gosh, I would have been there 2 hours later. That's awesome, and I love that you just brought up LinkedIn, because that's such an important platform, and you do a lot with blogging, you work a lot with folks on content. Share a little bit about why using LinkedIn Publisher is so important.
Oh, it's a fantastic platform, and now that said, I would never say replace your blog with LinkedIn. Okay, you want to own your own content, for one, and number two, the LinkedIn publishing platform, while fantastic, it doesn't have the rest of your website. So it's harder to craft that experience, to control their next steps, to have a really effective call to action. But that said, the LinkedIn publishing platform is incredible for really expanding your audience. They do a really, really good job of making sure that your content, if it's good, gets out in front of thousands of other people on LinkedIn, more than just your own followers. So that's one of the big differences between say, publishing on LinkedIn or just sharing a Facebook post. If you share something to Facebook, you're just going to, only a fraction of your current fans are going to see it.
And
Pull, the LinkedIn news platform, pushes that content out to other people.
And I love it for myself because it shows up under my flag and notifications on LinkedIn, and it, again, so easy for me to share that person's content. In the fact that I can share it right there on LinkedIn, I can send it off to some groups, or even as the person publishing, they can send it off very quickly to all the other platforms. And again, creating greater exposure and creating new conversations with folks, right, Mike?
Absolutely.
Love it, love it, love it. What's new on the horizon for you, Mike? What are you seeing as possibilities in 2015 for you and your business?
Well, this is going to be a really fun year, I think, for me. Last year was great. I published the first book, which was really exciting. And now the next steps are, first, I have a blogging course that's in progress that Jeff C. is working on with me. So we're hoping to release that in the next few months. It's a work in progress, so we don't have a firm timetable. But it's going to be 100% online, video, text, audio, mixed media content. That's going to be fun. And then later this year, I'm hoping to have my second book out. So those are my fun projects for the year.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for joining me on the show today. I want everybody, please follow Mike everywhere. All the links to where he's hanging and glowing are in the archives. And I don't know about you, but I just love everything about Mike. I can't even come up with my best. Well, maybe that he's an awesome dad. If you follow Mike on Instagram, you know he's amazing. He has great photos of his family. But here on Google+, on Twitter, everywhere I go, I count on Mike to keep me up to date in a way that's easy breezy. So I'm looking forward to everything you've got going on in 2015. I want to do a quick shout out to folks who stopped by to say hi and couldn't make it live. So that's Nicole and Christopher and Deborah Oakland and Cheryl, Carmen, Jeffrey, and then of course a big howdy do to the folks. Mwah, thank you, my live viewers, for showing up today. I hope you can join us in the green room. I'm going to post the link in just a second. I have next week, the February 10th at 1 p.m., author and relationship expert and woman extraordinaire, Susan Winters, is joining me, and we're talking about the heart of the entrepreneur, just in time for Valentine's Day. So I hope you all can join us back then. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I don't want you to miss any new content, and please connect with me on all the platforms. I would love to learn more about you, what makes your heart sing, and just continue the conversation about the entrepreneurial adventure. And then, folks, you business owners, I am in such awe and wonder of you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you for having the courage to pursue your dreams through your livelihood as an entrepreneur. You're amazing. Until next week, wishing you all mwah and an Andelicious day. Wave goodbye, Mike.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks again for joining me. See you in the Afterglow party.